Hey, you want to know why most franchise sales processes are failing? Are you stuck in a cycle of struggle? Stick around, let's find out why.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome back to Franchise Pitfalls and Profits, the podcast where we break down the biggest challenges in the industry, a lot of specificity about franchise development, and we give you the tools to unlock sustainable growth. And again, I'm Don Shin, and today we're going to dive into a really critical issue, and that is why are most franchise sales processes failing? More specifically, why are you stuck in a struggle cycle when it comes to recruiting the best franchise partners and stop a lot of the ghosting and the problems that you're having? So if you feel like you're constantly struggling with this, the difficulty to sign new franchisees, the difficulties in scaling effortlessly, I want you to know, first of all, you're not alone. You're in a good place on this episode, and you're not alone. And there is a reality to this. And I think the reality is most people think they have a sales process, but what they really have is a wing it process. And that's exactly why you keep losing potential franchisees. That's why you keep getting ghosted. That's why people suddenly fall off and never respond to you again. So, what separates the brands that are experiencing really consistent growth from those that are stuck in this cycle of struggle, as I call it? It's about a repeatable, high impact, high touch, nurturing sales system that is deliberately, intentionally designed to close more deals. So let's talk about that. I think there's three fundamental basic stages that are involved in most of the best franchise sales processes. They're critical stages if you want to be successful, if you want to structure and implement and execute a highly successful, regularly successful system. If you optimize in these areas, you're going to increase your conversion rates. You're going to reduce a lot of your drop off, and honestly, you're going to develop a predictable pipeline that you can actually measure. You can determine what your sales are going to look like month after month, quarter after quarter. So, first thing I believe to look at in these critical stages, the first one is to attract targeted leads and do targeted marketing to connect with the right prospects. Maybe even your your overall lead volume will go down, but you're actually spending time with the right people. I would not be surprised that if you make the right changes in your marketing or in your lead generation, as we often call it, I'm pretty confident that you're going to get higher quality, even if it's lower volume. Sometimes we have this false sense of security when we have a lot of volume, but the reality is a lot of the people coming into our funnel just aren't really the best for our particular brand. So I think one of the first mistakes, in essence, what's happening here is that the franchisors are casting too wide of a net. They're marketing to everyone instead of knowing who their ideal candidate is, knowing what the ideal franchise partner profile looks like, and then targeting and going specifically after them. So, one takeaway from today is, do you have a written down, defined, ideal franchise partner profile? If you don't, please do that first. Before spending a lot of other time on a lot of things, before spending another month and another quarter's worth of lead generation dollars. Go profile, go talk to your ideal prospects, or pardon me, your ideal franchise partners. Go talk to the ones who are above average. You don't always want to talk to the top 10% because candidly, in my opinion, those top 10% in your system, it's nothing against you and your system, but honestly, they'll be successful in whatever franchise that they decided to go with. So you want to look for probably the next 30 to 40%. Your above average producers, but not necessarily the rock stars. And that's who you want to consistently recruit and sign. So your marketing should be built around this profile, built around the people who succeed and attracting the types of people who would succeed the most in your system. Again, invest some time at determining what that person or what that profile looks like. Another thing is to invest in channels where your best candidates spend their times. Now, I don't want to bash any lead generation strategy because if you've been around me or any of my trainings, you know that I teach using multiple lead generation strategies, operating and executing them simultaneously in order to be successful with lead generation. But I'm going to say for franchisors in particular, honestly, portals are not the right approach. Portals are not targeted. Portals are the wide net. And so, again, there are buyers in portals, absolutely, 100%. But you want to look for and decide where are your candidates spending their time, and you want to channel. You want to go towards that channel. You want to find that channel. I think, to me, having been in sales, marketing, business development for most of my business life in one fashion or another, I think LinkedIn, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I think there is a treasure trove of information there that that is actually designed, LinkedIn is designed that you can search for your ideal profile. So to me, LinkedIn is an example where you can really target and go to the exact profile of the person that you're looking for. Another thing is to craft your message in your direct marketing. Craft it in a way that is of interest and attractive to your ideal candidates. So when you're talking with your ideal candidates, and this is something I recommend, particularly who's come on board in the last year or so, find out why they purchased the franchise. Why did they join? What objectives did your brand and your opportunity meet? What pain went away? The difficulty of being on an airplane and in a hotel room all the time, missed family meals, missed ball games or piano recitals. Direct your messaging in your marketing, your lead generation to some of those problems and pain points, the things that your opportunity connects with them and will solve for them and be the solution. So to me, again, generically, if you're blah, blah, blah all over the place, you're going to sell a franchise here or there. That's the wide net, the generic general approach. But if you want to get more business, you want to sign more of the best franchise partners, you want to get more precise, almost like pinpoint. I won't use that analogy, but you want to get more precise and pinpoint what messages are going to be most attractive to who you're looking to recruit. Now, without a targeted attraction strategy, you end up wasting a lot of time on leads that'll never buy, leads that are not the right fit for you. And indeed, maybe you convince some of those to buy. And that's not good for your franchise model and system overall. All right. So number 2, nurture, build trust, have a clear and engaging process. So once you have a lead, the work's not over. Actually, the work probably really begins at that point. A huge pitfall in franchise sales is that their processes are not nurturing. And so you've got to look at a candidate. Has someone ever looked at a franchise before, so they kind of get this? Are you getting them really early? We've got a candidate in our broker company right now that they just sort of randomly had an idea, knew what my company did, and reached out to me. They're not even sure they want to be a business owner yet. And so really important that your process can identify where someone is in their process, or really early stages, pretty educated and knowledgeable consumer, etc. And you want to nurture them, and have a very clear process that develops the relationship and nurtures that lead or that prospect. So, does your a couple of key things to take away? A high number of touches, consistency, consistent communication, not overburdening them too quickly. Again, I use the silly analogy of, hey, if you put down a piece of filet mignon in front of a baby that has no teeth, sure, there's vitamins and nutrition and things in that piece of meat, but they can't digest it all. They can't digest it in the format that's being given to them. And so it's the same way with our prospects. We have to recognize how much information can they actually consume and digest in a good fashion. As you work with them, as you've got some time built up with them, you have a relationship with them, as they get more and more engaged, yeah, you can feed them a lot more information. You can expect more from them to do in your process, but recognize early in the process, they're probably just don't have the levels of interest and excitement yet for you to expect a lot back from them. So consistent communication of value to them, regular touch points. And again, kind of an asterisk or a side note is simply that as I teach a lot of consultants how to match and bring brands the best candidates for them, I always talk about, in the process, the broker, the consultant must have value, must be providing value. And I truly think, even as a brand, if you're on the brand side of all of this, a lack of value to the prospect regarding the next call is very likely the reason they're ghosting you. So consistent communication. Another point is that, are you, as you're nurturing them and as your process addressing their concerns? Sometimes there are concerns that they don't bring up and you don't want to bring it up, but you know what? It might be in the back of their mind. So does your system allow for and address their concerns? I often call it the elephant in the room problem, because I found in this business, in sales, typically when I knew, my copier that I was selling didn't have such and such a feature. And boy, if it came up, I'd address it quickly. And I hoped it never came up again. I hoped it never came up to start with. But in this business, you cannot afford for some things not to come up, not to come out. I worked for a franchisor at one stage where there was just some bad press. There was some bad PR. It was more opinions than anything factual, but it was out there. And so I used to bring that up. Hey, did you hear such and such? Did you find blah, blah, blah? And what did you think about that? What are your thoughts? And of course, I would address it in the proper manner. So I guarantee you that you are losing some deals because you're avoiding something in your system that or you hope they'll never find out. But if they do find out, you don't really have a good answer for it, or you don't want to deal with it, or you deal with it once and you hope it never comes up again. I can tell you, any challenge, problem, question that they bring up, objection, if you want to call it that, if they aren't fully satisfied with your explanations, I can guarantee you, you are losing deals at the end of the process. Plus, you've spent weeks and months with someone that maybe was hung up on something that would have killed the deal weeks ago, and you just kept plowing through, hoping it wouldn't kill the deal. So address these elephants in the room. I think the best franchise processes then really are kind of a guided tour of your opportunity, a guided tour of your company. It's going to plug the prospect into the people and the support and the opportunity, and it gets out these hangups that are so important to be addressed in the process. And it's a process that allows the candidates to move forward step by step confidently, rather than them always being confused what's going on, concerned, have their guards up because they just don't see what's coming. So don't keep them in the dark. Make it very visible and something that builds their confidence. The third point, I mentioned there's 3 points. The third point is the close, and it's really a spin-off of this elephant in the room thing. You really have to deal with their challenges, objections, with confidence, very, very clearly. Don't be afraid to say to somebody, hey, if this is not the right thing for you because of XYZ, then maybe we're not the right brand for you. You have to have confidence to be able to say that to candidates because, again, you want to have the time to spend with the right prospects. And if you can eliminate certain people for whatever reasons that aren't the right ones, you're really going to have more time available to work with the right ones. So how do you handle objections? I often think of a question, a lot of times in sales, we've traditionally, and I'm using the word objection, we traditionally talk about objections, but I think a lot of times it's the human nature, the human mind developing the answer to something that'll help them actually say yes. So I wouldn't always necessarily think of questions as objections, but think of them more as opportunities for you to help them understand more about who you are, what your brand and company is about, and the real opportunity that they have if they were the right person and joining. So I think this is really big. When I was a franchisor, again, we had some of that bad press, and it was so important to proactively get ahead of it and address it. Another thing about moving the candidates forward confidently, and part of the close, if there is one, and that is, do you create any kind of a sense of urgency? This is a standalone episode probably in and of itself. You don't want to resort to high pressure tactics, but there are many things you can do here. And again, it's probably, we don't have the time today to get into it, but a couple of things you can do is maybe you have an upcoming training and you work with them to say, look, if you complete your due diligence by X time frame, you can make it into the next training class. Maybe it's an FDD. We're broadcasting this in January. A lot of FDDs have to be renewed and resubmitted in March or April. Just the changing of the deal potentially is a good way to encourage someone to make the decision based on what they see and the deal and the franchise agreement they see today. But you can create some sense of urgency. This will help you close more deals. And then again, instead of going so generic, but learn who your candidates are and frame or position everything that you do, everything that you show, frame it in a way that connects with their goals, their objectives for owning a franchise or a business, and or again, solve some of their problems or their pain points. One thing I do, and I would encourage you to do it if you don't do it, is before I talk to almost anybody in business, but particularly prospects, I look them up on LinkedIn, I look them up on Facebook, and I Google them because you're going to potentially see things in those 3 places that will help you have better tailored conversations, even in the first couple of calls. So frame or position your opportunity to them specifically. So many deals fall apart because the franchisors and the Fran Dev reps assume interest means commitment, and it doesn't. Closing, which is what we're talking about, point number 3, closing requires skill, some strategies, a lot of confidence in order to bring somebody to a positive decision when they're at the altar. So, summarizing, optimizing, franchise development, sales processes. The challenges that many, particularly franchise founders and even brokers, they struggle to close qualified candidates. Often they're not getting the best candidates to start with. So the solution works around several key points: lead qualification, the targeted marketing as opposed to the broader net, a consultative sales technique, processes that nurture your leads through an intentional process, as opposed to kind of trying to sell somebody something, and then creating urgency, legitimate urgency without high pressure tactics. So, as I've been sharing in this new year, after 25 years in this business, heavy emphasis on franchise recruitment, but also being both a master franchisee and I was the CEO for a franchisor. I have probably seen 90% of the challenges, and let's even call them the circumstances and the situations that you're going through. And so what you're experiencing, I've either done it, seen it, solved it. And so we have decided to launch a new program called the Franchise Growth Vault. This is designed to help you build, in this case, we're talking about high impact sales processes, but it's really designed for you to recruit, sign, and retain the best franchise partners for your brand. So we're introducing this because if these challenges sound familiar, we've got the proven systems and strategies and knowledge to help you streamline your sales processes, increase your conversion rates, and as I said, retain more of your ideal franchise prospects. So we're working with the Franchise Vault, Growth Vault. We've designed it to eliminate sales inefficiencies, maximize your conversion rates, give you battle-tested, market-tested techniques to turn your leads into franchisees. And it is delivered by people that have proven track records of doing it, not talking about it, not teaching about it, not keeping it theoretical. We are the experts and the strategists that have done it, been there, done that, and now we want to bring it to you as well. So, spoiler alert, though, the Franchise Growth Vault is not for everybody. It's really an exclusive, blended training, coaching, consulting program for franchisors who are serious. They are really ready to implement real change, and they really are focused on and committed to scaling and really growing their franchise models. So if you're serious about improving your franchise sales processes, your results, signing more of the right franchisees, I really encourage you to explore the Franchise Growth Vault. Scrolling our website, our contact information. Don't let another month go by where you're in this cycle of struggling with these things. Again, that old definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Nothing is going to change unless you change. So again, I encourage you to reach out. We're going to help. We're going to be able to, through the Franchise Growth Vault program, help you implement a repeatable, high impact sales and retention system. So, hey, if you got value out of today, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it. We'd really like to also hear from you if you have other ideas you want us to address this quarter in our episodes. And if you want more information about the franchise growth vault, jump on our website, our contact page, and we'll reach back out to you. Thanks.